Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey. It's great to have you in today on a Friday. It's been, 9 months in the making? It's time. It might be 6 months in the making. Super Bowl Sunday is 2 days away. We got a lot to talk about, a lot to get into, some rumors out there. NFL Honors was last night. We got to talk about it, MVP and the rest of the awards. It was pretty crazy. Hall of Fame class. We already knew one person who wasn't going to be in it. Actually, we knew 3 people that weren't going to be in it before. Everybody was leaking everything, Belichick, Kraft, and one player in particular that I knew would not make it. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. How you doing today on this Friday?
Super Bowl weekend. This is it for all the marbles.
Yeah.
Seattle and the Patriots.
It's been a long journey. Long journey.
Been a long journey. We called every game. We picked every game.
Yeah.
We did okay. Maybe could have done a little better.
A little down here.
We've done very well in the playoffs in terms of picking these games. I know my pick for the Sunday is going to be right. I've got it nailed, Nate. I'm ready to go.
We'll definitely get into that. We got a lot to discuss. A lot of trade rumors out there now all of a sudden. We also have some coaching moves as well that is happening. One in particular that will happen after this game, so we'll have to wait and see. But let's start with the probably some pretty crazy news because I couldn't believe it myself. Obviously, I've mentioned it a little bit, but I didn't actually think it may actually come into fruition here, which is Jay Glazer of Fox went on to Yahoo Sports Daily on Radio Row this week and said that basically Max Crosby's time with the Raiders is essentially done. And he also says that he may get a bigger haul than what Micah Parsons got moving from the Cowboys over to the Green Bay Packers. Max Crosby did go on the Herd earlier today where he basically saying he's going to keep his mouth shut because no matter what he says, it's a lose-lose situation. So here's my question to you. Do you expect the Raiders to move Max Crosby? And if they do, if you agree that, his time with the Raiders is done, which team do you think will be the best fit for Max Crosby?
Okay, well, I've got the answers to all those questions. First question, big question is, will he be traded? I think at this point, even though all of this talk is happening saying it looks like he's going to be traded, I think it's still a bit of a fluid situation. You hear Crosby saying, I'm keeping my mouth shut. I'm not going to say anything. It'll be a lose-lose for me. He's expressed frustration with the constant rebuilding, and I can understand that. He's been with the team now for, 5 or 6 years, and they're terrible, and they don't seem to be able to improve it at all. So I can understand why a competitor like him is very frustrated. But the Raiders owner, Mark Davis, has previously indicated he would not be traded. I think the major point of contention here was the Raiders' decision to place Crosby on injured reserve for a meniscus injury in his knee near the end of the 2025 season against his wishes. And it was allegedly to improve their draft position, and rightfully so. I think they probably did the right thing there because they need to pick Mendoza. They needed that first pick, and they achieved that, and I'm sure they're going to pick Mendoza. I think the return, I agree with your analysis there and that of others, that the potential return for the Raiders is going to be enormous here. It could be 2 first-round picks and a veteran starter. The potential destinations, the Patriots. He said that he would love to play for Mike Vrabel, and I'm sure the Patriots would love to have him. Can they give up 2 first-round draft picks? And those first-round draft picks might not be worth a ton. The Patriots continue to play the way they are. At worst, they're going to be, at best, at worst, they're going to be 31st pick, and at best, 32nd this year. So, that first-round draft pick isn't as valuable because it's so far down the line there. The Cowboys, they need to replace Micah Parsons. They need an elite edge rusher, and I'm sure Jerry Jones is going to be watching this one closely. And the Lions. He played at Eastern Michigan, so it would be kind of a homecoming for him, and he'd love to play alongside Aiden Hutchinson. And I'm sure Dan Campbell would love to have somebody like Max Crosby on his team because he's a very fiery guy, very motivated, very passionate about football, and that's what Dan Campbell is all about. The contract implications here. Currently, he's under contract through 2029. For 2026, his cap hit would be $35 million. Though the acquiring team probably will give something like $31 million. His 2027 salary will be fully guaranteed on March 1st of 2026. This provides kind of a natural deadline, I think, for a potential trade decision. He's 29 years old, and in 26 he would make $35.9 million, $30 million guaranteed. And 2027, it's $29.8 million, which kicks in on guaranteed on March 1st, and then the rest of the salary is not guaranteed right now, $27.3 million and $28.2. So, it's a lot of money, but the last 2 years of the contract you can get out of, and he'd be 31 and 32 years old at that point in time. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. I think there's going to be as I say, those 3 top teams really would love to have him. His career stats, I've got every year here, but I won't go through each one. But in total, he's got 271 tackles, 150 assists, and 59.5 sacks. So he's been very productive over 4 years. Should he be traded? I say yes. I think it's unlikely the Raiders are going anywhere win-wise in 2026, which is just going to frustrate Crosby more. They got a brand new coach. Does he need that distraction of Max Crosby being all upset all the time because they're not winning? I think the Raiders should be in full rebuild mode here and maximize their draft picks now. They'll likely draft Fernando Mendoza with number 1. They should also draft a true wide receiver 1 to support him. They need to replace Crosby's talent with young, cheap talent in a deep edge rush draft class this year, which is would favor them, featuring prospects like Ruben Bain and Akeem Mazdor. They need to establish a youth movement by accumulating more than 11 picks in this year's draft. So I'd say trade him, and I think that will make both parties happy, and I think it'll be the best situation for everyone.
But do you think the Raiders actually will pull the plug?
I do.
Ooh,
yeah.
Wow.
I do.
I feel like Davis and Brady, they're both going to be like, and Spytek as well, the GM, I think they may be a little bit reluctant. And I do think there's a few teams, like for instance, I'll just throw this out here. It's not part of my take. If we're talking about just the Raiders part of this, not Max Crosby and doing what's best for him, although he absolutely deserves that respect. If you're thinking about what's best for the team, there is one team that needs a superstar defensive player that traded away 2 of them and has a lot of draft capital. It's the New York Jets. So if they wanted to go, I'm just saying, if they wanted the best for what they can get, like the best draft capital that they can get for Max Crosby, go get the Jets. They have a couple first-round picks that they may be willing to give up if they were interested in Max Crosby. It's not part of my take, or that's not what I think. Those are not the 3
really
teams that I think.
That's really interesting, although Max Crosby wants to go to a contender.
Correct. So
the Jets are a rebuild team, too.
Right. So if we're talking about in the best interest for the Raiders, for the maximum draft capital, that's probably the New York Jets. Probably. But here's my thing. Yes, I don't care if Max Crosby says it's a lose-lose situation or that he's just going to shut up and do him. This is basically a repeat of the Myles Garrett situation, and this is why I have little to no sympathy if he stays next year and then he starts complaining that they're not winning football games? It's because he decided to stay. Myles Garrett demanded a trade, and then once he got a big contract that said $40 million annual, he said, "Oh, okay, I'll sign it. It's okay." And then still complains about losing football games. You play for the Cleveland Browns, they're losing his franchise in the 21st century. Realistically, though, there is no pathway for Las Vegas to be a successful team really anytime soon. Think about this. Max Crosby has gone through Derek Carr with John Gruden and Rich Bisaccia, then Carr and Devontae Adams with Jimmy G and Josh McDaniels, then Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew with Antonio Pierce, then Ashton Genty and Geno Smith with Pete Carroll. This has been a complete dumpster fire year after year after year, and since Max Crosby's got there in 2019, they've had one winning season. One singular winning season. And if you want to say 500 or better, 2 of those seasons. So the Raiders have been a god-awful franchise since Max Crosby's got there. There are 7 wins and 27 losses in the last 2 seasons. That's a 20.5% winning percentage. This past season, the Raiders, just on defense alone. So if we're talking about helping out Max Crosby and him not being the only key piece of the defense, the Raiders' defense last year, 25th in points allowed, 32nd in defensive grade, 28th in run defensive grade, 29th in tackling, 24th in pass rush, and 29th in coverage. They were one of the worst defenses in the NFL. They were the worst offense in the NFL when it comes to PFF grade. So where is it looking up? Do you think Fernando Mendoza, Ashton Genty, and now probably most likely, definitely in about 3 days from now, Clint Kubiak, are they going to bring you to the promised land and make you a respectable team in the AFC, where you play in a division with Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh, you have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, then on top of the fact you have Sean Payton and Bo Nix, then the AFC South, the Jaguars seem to be electric with Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence. CJ Stroud, I don't think is going to be that bad. You know why? It's the regular season, not the playoffs. When week 1 hits, you also have DeMeco Ryans, who I love as a head coach. Daniel Jones will be healthy again. Most likely he'll sign back with the Colts. You also have Shane Steichen. The Tennessee Titans, you think is going to win 7 games, potentially? Potentially. In the AFC East, you have Drake Maye, who may be hoisting a Lombardi in 2 days from now. Then you have Josh Allen, who is Josh Allen. We don't know what the Dolphins will look like. The Jets are a disgrace. Fair point. You may be better than them. And in the AFC North, you have Lamar Jackson with Jesse Minter, who should fix that Ravens defense. Zach Taylor stays. I hate that move. But Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. And then you also have the Pittsburgh Steelers, who I don't know what their quarterback's going to be, but if we're talking about head coach and stuff like that and just where they've been over the last couple of years, they'll be respectable with whatever quarterback there is and Mike McCarthy. They'll figure something out along with DK Metcalf. So where is there an opening? Where is there an avenue, a pathway to find any level of success? I don't find one for the Raiders. And look, I respect the player, and I've said this for anybody. I respect the player who decides to stay with one organization for their entire career, for a majority of their career. But here's what I don't like. Don't complain about staying if you make the option to stay. If you sign a big extension, which you did, I don't want to hear about that you're upset that you're not winning football games. You chose to stay. It's Myles Garrett 2.0. That being said, if the Raiders do decide to pull the plug, I think just for Max Crosby, for his sake, I think there are 3 teams that are really, really good picks, and you mentioned a couple of them. The first one would be the Detroit Lions. I agree with you. The personalities completely match. Aiden Hutchinson, Dan Campbell, and Max Crosby. That would be Danielle Hunter and, I forgot his name off the top of my head, Will Anderson Jr. 2.0. I love that idea. By the way, they're 23rd in cap space, so they'll need to figure something out if they want to trade for him. The next one that was rumored to be about is the New England Patriots. I think that could be an interesting one. You have to figure out who the hell you're going to give away first. You're not going to give away Milton Williams. He's been an absolute force on the football field, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Patriots are 12th in cap space in 2026 as of right now. And I think a sleeper one that we heard in the past from maybe some other pass rushers that I don't think you mentioned, the Washington Commanders. They have a new DC, new OC. Dan Quinn doesn't want to get fired. He'll be calling the defensive plays. They were in the NFC Championship game 2 years ago. They're 6th in cap space. And I do think they have a couple pieces that would be attractive for the Raiders if they do decide to move off of Max Crosby and are looking for high value in return. So I think realistically, if we're talking about just who has the most flexibility and potentially assets to give, I would say it's Washington. The Patriots are a really interesting one as well, but I'm wondering how they would get the cap to work, as well as who are you going to trade away and still expect to be at a very, very high Super Bowl level. But, I do think that it's time. Max Crosby should demand his way out. I don't care if it's a lose-lose. Sometimes you got to bite the bullet and just accept. For instance, here's somebody who bit the bullet hoping for better. Jim Schwartz handed in his resignation letter this past week. So
I don't blame him.
He's sitting out the entire season this year.
I don't blame him.
So that's someone who's biting the bullet, hoping for better. I think Max Crosby should do the same. Bite the bullet, hope for something better. If they trade you, I think it's here, based on over the cap, if they trade you post June 1st for this upcoming season, the Raiders save $31 million, essentially. $30.7 million.
Yeah, they got to trade him.
So
they're going to trade him.
This is just good for you in general.
You
only accrue $5.1 million in dead cap.
They need to be in complete rebuild mode. They've got to say, look, we're getting rid of all the players that are half good that we can get a good draft pick for. We're going to get rid of them, and we're starting over. I think they should draft some offensive linemen.
I would agree.
Because they got to protect Mendoza. If he winds up with an ACL in the third game, that won't be any good for them. They need to protect him. They need to get somebody that can let Gianti run a little bit. He was horrible this year. He had no space. There was no place to run. It was a brick wall every time he got the ball. He caught a few passes and stuff. He has talent, that's for sure. But if it's no hole to run through, then you're never going to gain any yards, and their offensive line is terrible.
Well, I would also say just Ashton Genty, even yards before contact, he was one of the worst. So not even getting hit behind the line of scrimmage necessarily, just his effectiveness, even before he gets hit, wasn't that great. Yeah. He wasn't able to explode to the outside or find the gap.
Pete Carroll's son was the offensive line coach.
It was a bit rough out there, and it was pretty bad. But I will say that the offense just needs to be. You have to find a quarterback. Is Fernando Mendoza the answer? I think you got to move Jackson Powers-Johnson into his actual position of center. For some reason, Pete Carroll moved him to guard and left him there. I guess it's probably because his son said, let's move him to guard and let's keep him there. He didn't want to undercut his own son, maybe. I think you should move him back to center. I think that the tackles are fine. I don't love the tackles. It's the Raiders. They don't have a good offensive line whatsoever. Their run blocking grade was terrible. Their pass blocking grade wasn't much better. Actually, I can bring up the number for you. Yeah, they were 28th in pass block grade. Run block grade, they were 30th. So they just weren't a good team whatsoever. Is Tom Brady, Spytek, Davis, and Clint Kubiak going to save this team for 2026 just to make Max Crosby happier? Maybe. Probably not. I also would say, why piss off your best player? If he said he wanted to play, let him play.
They wanted the first-round pick.
Okay, the Giants choked away by winning football games. They kept winning.
Yeah, that was a mistake. They shouldn't have done that. They could have had the first-round pick.
They could have.
You think Harbaugh wouldn't like to have the first-round pick?
The question is, you would probably trade that back.
Maybe, but then you'd get more. You'd get more if you had the first-round pick.
Obviously.
Right? The first-round pick, you get more if you trade it back. So they made a mistake there. That was a mistake on their part. The Raiders played that right. That's the one thing they did correctly. Right? They tanked.
Geno Smith couldn't play quarterback. Running game sucked. Offensive line was non-existent. Defense was atrocious. Coaching was terrible.
Yeah.
They got the first overall. They did their job.
What do you think will happen to Geno?
Oh, he's gone.
He's gone, you think?
That's why I thought giving him that extension made no sense. I get restructuring his contract, but extending him for 2 more years or a year after, to me, that made no sense. Unless it was for cap space, and that's avoided. But still, I thought that was a terrible idea. But I'll give him a little bit of credit, though. They thought that Geno was an upgrade over Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. He was somehow a downgrade.
If I were Max Crosby, I'd want to go to the Lions. That's where I'd want to go.
My thing is,
he says he wants to go to the Patriots. That's fine with me. I'd love to see him there, but you're gonna have to give up a lot. You're gonna have to give up a lot to get him. Do the Patriots really need to do that? I mean,
well, it depends on if they win.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're in the Super Bowl, so it seems like they have a pretty good chance to do well next year too. So, do they really need to give up 2 first-round draft picks and one of their players to?
They wouldn't give up 3 for Myles Garrett. They wouldn't give up 3. Do you give up?
I think the Myles Garrett situation is a little different than this one, right? Because Myles Garrett wanted a new contract.
Well, he wanted to get out.
No, but he wanted a new contract. That's what he really
Then when
wanted
he saw
the
the big
most.
4-0.
Obviously, that's what he wanted the most was a new contract because he stayed after they offered him $40 million a year.
And then complained
Max
they were losing.
Crosby already has the big contract. He's just going to move it to someplace else, and I think that's a good thing for the Raiders. They should go ahead and do it. It'll make both parties will benefit from it. It's a win-win.
They won't necessarily be happy because the Raiders will now be in full god-awful mode. There will be no future as of right now. You hope and pray Mendoza's your guy. That's what you hope and pray for.
Yeah.
Because if he's not,
good.
you're done.
He looks good to me, man. I watched him play.
He got absolutely destroyed by Miami.
Indiana won the national championship. They destroyed Miami.
Yeah. Well, also, you look at Mendoza in that game. He was getting killed. There were a couple cheap shots early in that game. Miami going a little high on him in the national championship game. We didn't talk about that, but yeah. I mean, we'll see. It's the Raiders again. Is that a place where quarterbacks go to die? The Jets are one of those places.
There's a guy that could help turn the franchise around. They can build around Mendoza.
Big statement right there. All right, let's move on to this one. Last night, the NFL honors announced that not Drake Maye, but Matthew Stafford is the 2025-2026 NFL MVP. This is a very, very close one. Very tight-knit voting group. Drake Maye only lost by 5 votes. 5 votes, and it was by 1 first-place vote. Matt Stafford, 24, Drake Maye, 23. In fact, the only other person to get a first-place vote, I think, was, Josh Allen, I think, got 2. And then somehow, for some reason, Justin Herbert got 1. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw it. But, I'm going to get into that during my take because the reasoning is what I said that nobody agreed with about Justin Herbert and how he flopped in the playoffs. I'll talk about it a little bit later. But here's my question to you. What's your reaction to Stafford winning the MVP over Drake Maye?
I can't get too upset about it. I mean, he did have a fantastic season. He threw 46 touchdowns. And he had just a handful of interceptions. He's well over, 4,700 yards passing. I mean, he had a fantastic year, and he almost got his team to the Super Bowl. So I don't have a lot of problem with it. I think Drake Maye will get his MVP down the road probably, and he came very close this year. And I think that maybe some of the voters looked at, I hate to say it, the strength of schedule may have had played a part in their vote. He also, I think, was the bigger news. He said in his acceptance speech, he announced that he returned next season. And I'm sure that Sean McVay was standing on his feet and applauding to that one. As you said, he got 24 of the 50 first-place votes and finished with 366 points. Maye got 23 of the first-place votes and finished with 361 points. So that one first-place vote for Justin Herbert or the 2 votes for Josh Allen, if they'd flipped to Drake Maye would have won it. So it was very, very close race. Closest race since Peyton Manning and Steve McNair, who were co-winners in 2003. At 37, Stafford is the oldest player to win his first MVP. He also became the 3rd oldest player to win the award behind Tom Brady in 2017 and Aaron Rodgers in 2021. It was in an interesting way that he announced that he's coming back next year. He brought his 4 daughters, dressed identically in black and white dresses, to the stage to accept this award. He thanked the Rams team and he saved his wife and daughters for last. He said, "You're unbelievable cheerleaders for me. I appreciate it." It was a way of telling the crowd that he'll be back next season. He said, "I'm so happy to have you at the game on the sidelines with me, and I can't wait for you to cheer me on next year when we're out there kicking ass." I thought that was a nice way to put it. Huh? Stafford and Maye's odds of winning the MVP flip-flopped, I think, multiple times over the last 2 months of the season. Stafford emerged as the favorite after Week 18. He was also named the AP first-team All-Pro for the first time in his career. Josh Allen got 2 first-place votes. Justin Herbert got 1. Allen was 3rd. McCaffrey 4th, and Lawrence 5th in the overall voting. Stafford, 4th Ram to win the MVP. Roman Gabriel got it in 1969. I remember watching him play. He had an amazing fake. He could fake it. The cameras would lose it. They would be all over the place looking, and suddenly he still had the ball. He was a great player. Kurt Warner in 1999, Marshall Faulk in 2000, and Kurt Warner again in 2001. So the Rams had it 3 years in a row there. So he's the the fourth Ram to win it, and the fifth time the Rams have gotten an MVP. He's the first player to win the MVP outside of the top two seeds since Adrian Peterson did it in 2012. The Rams had the fifth seed this year. They lost the Seattle NFC Championship game, as we know. He's sixth in career yardage at 64,516 yards. He's 1,758 yards behind Aaron Rodgers. The Rams' home stadium hosts the Super Bowl 2027. I'm sure he's hoping he'll be there to play.
Well, this was my MVP pick, and we talked about who we're picking. You had Drake Maye, and rightfully so. I thought he had a very, very good case. I really thought this was a two-man race. Trevor Lawrence never had a shot. Josh Allen never had a shot. I think CMC was a finalist. He never really had a legitimate shot. Again, this is the argument that we've seen over the last few years. Is it stat-based? Is it narrative-based? Is it strength of schedule-based? Because if you take a look at just strictly the numbers, with no context, Drake Maye is better in every category but one. Every single one. Record, better. Completion percentage, better. Total yards, better. Passing yards per attempt, significantly better. Total touchdown interceptions, Stafford has that one. And then passer rating, Drake Maye's better. In fact, Drake Maye set a bunch of records that were held by Tom Brady. So I think that what's interesting is we're looking at it contextually, maybe there's a little bit of a gray area. If we're looking at it just based on the stats and based on, the record set, whatever, it's Drake Maye 1,000%. But I do think, though, there is some Drake the schedule May out there. I do think that when people look at it, they're looking at strength of schedule and looked at how they performed, and Drake Maye really excelled against the really bad teams and whatnot. The record against playoff teams and how the Giants have more wins against teams above 500 than the Patriots do and all that nonsense. I have no issue with this. I think the reasoning behind it is kind of stupid. Where it's, okay, well, Matt Stafford's the older quarterback. Drake Maye has plenty of time to get his MVP. That's bad reasoning. It's a similar reasoning for the NFL Hall of Fame, which people had an issue with. So that reasoning I don't like. If you think, okay, Matt Stafford just played at an extremely high level, this old, he's playing at this high a level, especially with the adversity that he went through in the offseason with his back injury and whatnot, fine. Fair enough. He played out of his mind. There was a streak, what was it, 28 touchdowns, no picks. It was utterly ridiculous. So, for me, I have no issue with Matt Stafford winning the MVP. It just really depends on what's your argument. If it's stat-based, Drake Maye wins. Because, again, I'll show the numbers one more time. Drake Maye, stats-wise, he's the MVP. Contextually, and you look at the eye test and see which quarterback just looked better out on the field, I do think it's Matt Stafford because there is a level of bias to the fact that the Patriots played against some really, really bad teams. No, and again, that's nothing to take away from the performance out there, because guess what? Patriots didn't make the schedule. Mike Vrabel didn't make the schedule. They just did their job. They won the games they had to win. So for me, I have no issue with it. Stafford won. Congratulations, Matt Stafford. Drake Maye, I think, will eventually get his MVP. I don't know if it'll take him, 17 years or whatnot to win an MVP.
I hope not.
But no, I have absolutely no issue with Drake Maye.
No, I mean, Drake Maye led the Patriots from a 4-13 record last year to a 14-3 this year. He plays in the Super Bowl on Sunday. That's something Matt Stafford's not doing. He had a breakout year leading the NFL in passer rating, 113.5, as you pointed out. Completion percentage, 72%, and yards per attempt, 8.9. Had 4,394 yards, 31 TDs, and 8 interceptions. Fantastic year. Youngest player since the merger to lead the NFL in completion percentage. Joe Montana did it in 1980 when he was 24 years old. So, great year, Drake. One more game.
And we'll talk about that. But I also think you just have to look at some of the games that they did, like the Rams did play. You go up against the Seahawks and you win that crazy game. The 4-interception game is still from Sam Darnold, and you barely eke it out. You go up against the Niners, and you lose to Mac Jones, one of them, but then you obliterate him once again. I mean, I think that Matt Stafford played extremely well. At 37 years old he was? He led the league in passing yards, passing touchdowns, first downs, passing yards per game, had a 71.0 QBR scale of 0 to 100. And also, just add on top of the fact he was the AP first team All-Pro, or All-Pro first team, excuse me. And normally the AP, the All-Pro first team, they win the MVP. The Josh Allen thing last year, that's what was crazy about it. I think they didn't want to do what they did last year and add, what I kind of argue a lot, which is let's look at the definition of most valuable player. Again, was Matt Stafford the most valuable player on the Rams? Some would argue yes. I think there's an argument for no. I think the defense helped them very early on, and they were very, very dominant early. Matt Stafford definitely had some games there, but he also cost his team some games. Drake Maye similarly. What about what was it, 21-0 against the Bills late in the season, and they fell apart, and they lose 35-31, was it? I thought that was a really, really bad look for a guy who ultimately, came number 2. And I want to get to the Justin Herbert thing, because people ripped on me for saying Justin Herbert has no excuses. That's why Justin Herbert has no excuse. And they're like, well, then you list off all, viable excuses. Broken hand, offensive line. We had someone vote him for the first place vote for the MVP for those exact reasons. Because he was able to overcome a bad offensive line, no run game, a broken hand. So that vote validates what I said. Because if he was able to do it for a decent amount of time, and someone clearly thought that he was the most valuable player, I could say there's no excuse. Do I think it's a bad pick? Vote him first? Absolutely. I thought it was terrible to put him first. First place.
It cost Drake Maye. It probably cost him although maybe the guy would have gone for Stafford.
First place vote as well.
Yeah.
So whatever the vote points equal, does a first place vote equal 4 points? I would need to look that. But if it does, then yes, it would have cost him that. They would have been, Steve McNair and Peyton Manning 2.0. Co-MVPs.
Yeah.
Which, again, I don't think a lot of people would have an issue with. The better stat guy versus did it against a more difficult schedule guy. Perfectly fine argument.
Yeah, well, the Patriots are going to have more difficult schedules going forward now because they're big winners. It's going to be tougher for them going forward.
Thank God they play in a division with
They got to win tomorrow. They got to win on Sunday. They got to win on Sunday.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, 30-second break, but coming up, the 2026 NFL Hall of Fame class has been announced. We'll break that down. There's a few people that were omitted in this year's class. 2 unexpected, one that I've been calling for now 7 years. It's going to be fun to talk about that, as well as it's all come down to this. From September to now February, we make our Super Bowl 60 predictions, the official one. Seahawks, Patriots, a rematch of Super Bowl 49. We'll make those picks right after this 30-second break.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name's Nathan Harvey. It's great to have you in today on a Friday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our next topic of today's show. The Hall of Fame class of 2026 was announced at the NFL Honors, and that includes Adam Vinatieri, Larry Fitzgerald, Roger Craig, Luke Kuechly, and Drew Brees, with Larry Fitzgerald and Drew Brees being the 2 first ballot Hall of Famers. Adam Vinatieri and Luke Kuechly get in on their second go-round, and Roger Craig is the senior representative of this Hall of Fame class. So here's my question to you. Overall, a lot of controversy entering the NFL Honors. What was your reaction to this 2026 Hall of Fame class?
I'm definitely, can you put the name pictures up there again? Yeah, I'm very happy Adam Vinatieri got it. He definitely deserves it. I mean, his career is as a kicker, if not the best, very close. I really felt like he was a deserving candidate. I mean, he kicked those field goals in the Super Bowl, right? 2 of them winning the game. 2 out of 3 of the Super Bowls he played with the Patriots, they won the game, those kicks. And I guess he's going in as a Patriot. I see him, he's got his Patriot uniform
that's just
on.
me. That's just the graphic.
He definitely should go in as a Patriot, even though he had a long and fruitful career with the Colts, but not in terms of playoff competition where he thrived. He was excellent. I guess the controversial pick in my mind and looking at this list is Drew Brees, right?
Ooh.
He beats out Eli Manning. Eli Manning has 2 Super Bowl wins, and Drew Brees has 1. And Drew Brees gets it on this is the first try, right? I like it. I love Drew Brees. I think Drew Brees is great. I thought the Sean Payton Drew Brees combo was one of the best in the NFL. Fun to watch. He's an exciting player, very competitive. Would have kept playing if he could have, I think. But, just age and he had trouble with his arm, right? He had issues with his arm. So good for Drew that he got in. Larry Fitzgerald, played in 1 Super Bowl and lost it. But, he had a great career. I didn't really follow him that much over the time because the Cardinals are not a team that I ever watched that much. Roger Craig was of the San Francisco dynasty when Joe Montana was there. And actually, I think he went into the time that who was the left-handed quarterback during that period of time. And Kuechly, he's very good, but he got injuries and concussions that cut his career short. So I think that's a deserving group. I mean, there's a lot of players that would have loved to have gotten in there. There's a long list of players. They can pick up to 8, right? And they wound up picking 5. So why not pick 8? I don't get it. Why not pick 8? There's so many players out there, and this going to keep building up a bigger and bigger list. Why not pick 8? I don't get that.
You need to reach the 80% threshold.
Yeah, well, they ought to be a little more lenient then to try to get 8 players. Not. If they can be 8 spots, why not have 8 spots?
Because why force 8 spots for people who are undeserving?
Come on, Nate. Look at that list of all the players that are still there that haven't gotten in. There's some deserving players there.
Well, for the senior contributors, which I think is what you're going with, so Roger Craig, Belichick, all of them.
Yeah, Belichick.
You could only select up to 3 of them.
Belichick, right?
Right.
You're going to have, look who's coming. There's some great players that are coming. You got Brady, you got Gronk. You got Brady, you got Gronk. You have Belichick as the coach. You have Kraft as the owner. I mean, those are 4 Patriots there. They're very deserving. Of course, I'm a Patriots fan, but I do think they're very deserving. And a lot of people very upset that Belichick didn't get in, and probably some, too, that Kraft hasn't gotten in. And he's been on the list there now for quite a number of years, 14 years, I think, and he hasn't gotten in yet. It's all jealousy. I don't think it's grounded in any rational thing other than just jealousy.
Well, I guess apparently the minority of this group, because I have 0 issue with this Hall of Fame class. Absolutely 0 issue. I had Adam Vinatieri and Luke Kuechly both in my first ballot last year when we talked about the Hall of Fame class, because there was obviously the controversial pick of Eli Manning being a finalist and him potentially being a first ballot. Obviously, we know that he didn't. This year, I absolutely had Larry Fitzgerald and Drew Brees as my number 1 spot. I do not think the Drew Brees pick is controversial. Might I add here a little bit of context? He led NFL history in yards and touchdowns before Brady did. And he did it in, I believe, a year shorter amount of time. So to me, that's not controversial at all, and especially if you compare both quarterbacks. Drew Brees blows Eli out of the water. Oh, the 2 Super Bowls, the 2 Super Bowl MVPs. Look at the rest of the stats. He doesn't have a 500 record, never lead the league in interceptions, had a couple 5,000-yard seasons. He was a significantly better player. I don't think anybody argues that. I don't think anybody will ever put Eli Manning above Drew Brees of all-time quarterbacks. I have no issue with Roger Craig getting in. What I do have an issue with, though, is how Roger Craig got in. As we heard from some of the voters and some of the leaks and some of the reports out there, was that they thought that Belichick will absolutely get in. So let's put in other guys who have a lesser shot to making it, like Ken Anderson, Casey Greenwood, and Roger Craig. What? L.C. Greenwood, excuse me. I hate that logic. I absolutely hate that logic because it's not true to the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame should be, I think is currently, the best of the best. This is not a Hall of very good. This is not a hall of let's fit 8 guys into Hall of Fame just because we can. This is not the NBA Hall of Fame. This is not, a lesser Hall of Fame. That's why people are arguing, Eli Manning, first ballot Hall of Famer, should have been in. Why? He was one and done in the playoffs 4 times, had a 500 record, had 2 Super Bowl runs, and might we add, look back at Super Bowl 42, the one where they beat the undefeated Patriots. That was 100% defense, and Eli should have had a couple fumble losses and a few interceptions. Asante Samuel and a few other Patriots had him slip right through their hands. So again, add a little bit of context. He's not good statistically. Eye test also shows he's not good statistically. So I think the only controversy is that Belichick and Kraft did not make it. That's the only controversy of this entire Hall of Fame class. So and I'll keep on tooting my own horn over here. I have been on this Eli Manning thing now going on for 7 years. This show started all the way back. Was it 7 years ago, basically? And the first ever video I did on this channel was talking about Eli Manning and how I don't think he is a Hall of Famer. And people laughed at me. I've made some bets with some friends. We had a debate on the show last year with friend of the show, Nick. We had this debate over whether or not Eli Manning deserves to be a Hall of Famer, and especially at the time, a first ballot Hall of Famer. And I said, no. You can't put a guy in who was never an all-pro, meaning he was never a top 2 quarterback in the league during his time. He was never considered a top 5 quarterback in his own era. People are comparing him to Troy Aikman and Terry Bradshaw. 2 guys from completely different eras of football. So, again, those comparisons make no sense whatsoever. How about we deal with Eli Manning in his own era? Just going to throw that out there. Let's compare him to his peers on how he did, because he didn't play against Troy Aikman. He didn't play with Terry Bradshaw. He didn't play against any other of the guys you're comparing him to from the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. Troy Aikman, 80s and 90s, a little bit into the 2000s. But let's compare him to the quarterbacks in his own era, which then brings me to my next point. When is he going to get in? Because I do think that there is one, and this will be the shocking part, if he doesn't get in this window, I would be concerned for his eligibility as a modern-day player. He may need to be pushed to senior. Because here's why. The next draft class, or the next Hall of Fame class, Big Ben, Adrian Peterson, and then if we just focus on the field production and not off the field stuff, which is basically impossible, so he might not make it first ballot, but Antonio Brown. Those are the 3 big names that are coming up in the next Hall of Fame class. And then in 2028, that's 2027. 2028 is the Tom Brady Hall of Fame class. And basically the precedent is it's very rare for 2 quarterbacks to go in one Hall of Fame class. Well, he's not beating Tom Brady out. It's not going to be a 2011 Super Bowl or a 2007 Super Bowl where Eli beats Brady. It's something that ain't going to happen. So I think ultimately, and by the way, I'll also add this. There was a report Eli Manning, who did not make the Hall of Fame, was, quote, not close again in the voting process. He made the final 15 because that's what happens for modern-day finalists of last year. You automatically get a vote in. He did not make the final 10. So even if you want to push 8, he would not even be in the final 10. He would not be those 2 that missed out.
Well, that's interesting. I would say his best chance is 2028.
With Tom Brady?
With Tom Brady, because people will want him in there because Eli Manning beat Tom Brady twice in the Super Bowl. And that will be part of the jealousy, the in-your-face, get back at Tom Brady for all his success. Let's put Eli Manning in there and have him speak right before Tom Brady. I predict that. That's a prediction. We'll have to wait till 2028 to see if it happens. I predict that's going to happen.
2029 is the first window because there's no shot. Because we also have to remember, there's a backlog of players as well.
Yeah. Well, that's why they should pick 8 every year.
Well, no, because then you're saying, okay, now we have 4 actual Hall of Famers. Okay, who are 4 that are close? Let's just put them in. That it downgrades what the Hall of Fame means. People, they already are changing the voting process right now. I don't think
so. There's some great players there.
Belichick didn't get in.
That's ridiculous.
And you want to force feed just because Belichick didn't get in?
There's 3 open positions. Belichick didn't get in.
Yes, because he didn't reach the 80% mark. He was 1 vote away.
That's a joke. It's a joke. They should have been in there.
But again, that's not even part of the other stuff.
They could have picked 8, and Belichick didn't get picked.
Well, again,
It's
he's part of the
ridiculous.
senior class, so it's 1 out of 3,
Well,
not one of the rest of them.
yeah. Well,
The other
I
three
think,
that were close
I think
were,
that they're investigating this, right?
correct.
I think there's an investigation going
expecting
on.
to change
and maybe
the
they're
voting
gonna
system.
that might be a good idea. Maybe
Well,
that's a
then
good idea.
That wouldn't change pushing more players in. That may be you now announce who voted for who. Expose the people for their votes, which I like.
I like that
Add
too.
some credibility.
Why should that be
the
anonymous?
baseball writers do it.
Why should it be anonymous?
Because you don't want to be ridiculed. Meanwhile, the baseball writers do it anyway, and nobody agrees with some of the recent baseball Hall of Famers
So
currently.
at least we know who voted for who instead of this smoke-filled room thing or this
agree.
polling guy saying he
Well, he
lobbied people.
Allegedly.
He lobbied people not to vote for Brady because for Belichick because of Spygate, and then he denied it. And then he said, I think I voted for Belichick. I don't remember. Give me a break. You don't remember who you voted for? That's a joke. I don't buy that at all.
Well, I will say this. The ones who did come close reportedly were Terrell Suggs, who will get it next year, Marshall Yonda, who will get it next year, and Willie Anderson, who I had last year. So I'm looking down the list. No Eli. Not even close.
2028. You wait and see.
No shot he gets in with Brady. If we're just doing it for the storyline, oh my God, Brady, Manning,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
But realistically, not a chance. Because you also have to remember, well, I'm trying to think.
That year, I predict another thing. That year, there'll be 8. There'll be 8 in that year in 2028 because they don't want to give Brady the stage for an extended speech.
But they don't give speeches.
I thought they did. I thought they always give.
They don't give speeches.
They don't give a speech. Are you sure?
The MVP does. All the singular awards do. The class of the Hall of Fame class, they don't give speeches.
At Canton, you're sure they don't give a speech?
Oh, you're talking about at Canton. I'm talking about at the NFL Honors. I don't care about Canton.
At Canton.
I don't care about Canton.
Why? That's where they make the award.
I care about the NFL Honors, where they vote in the class.
Oh,
How many people do you think actually watch all of that? Certainly some.
I'm going in 2028 to see Brady.
Well, Brady might not get in for Spygate and Deflategate. If everybody's missing a year.
I don't know why. Well, we could talk a long time about this, but we need to get on to our...
Okay, let's get into our next topic here, which is indeed Super Bowl 60 is 2 days away. Wow, the Seattle Seahawks versus the New England Patriots, a rematch of Super Bowl 49 is here. Nearly 10 years after they decided to throw it on the goal line, picked off by Malcolm Butler, which is a picture behind me. The Seahawks are back in the Super Bowl once again, overcoming the Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson, and all that, and the Legion of Boom era, and it's in a new era of McDonald, of Sam Darnold, and this stellar defense, along with K9 at the running back position. Going up against Mike Vrabel and Drake Maye, the sophomore in his second season in the NFL, with a Patriots defense reborn. 4-13 to now 14-3. What a matchup it will be on Sunday. What a season it's been for both of these teams. 2 quarterbacks, one young, one doubted his entire career. It's storylines up the wazoo for this game. So my question to you is, this is probably the final question of the NFL season before all the games are done. Obviously, we'll cover it on Tuesday. The final question before the season officially sets. The sun sets on the 2025-26 NFL season. Who will take home the Lombardi, the Patriots or the Seattle Seahawks?
Well, I'm picking the Patriots, obviously, because they're my team. I do think they have a very legitimate chance of winning this game. To me, it's eerily reminiscent of the Patriots-Rams Super Bowl in 2001. There you had the Patriots who were big underdogs to the Rams. In this game, they're underdogs to the Seahawks by 4.5 points. Tom Brady was a second-year quarterback. The Rams had the greatest show on turf. The Seahawks have the number 1 defense that everyone can't stop talking about. Just like 2001, virtually no one is picking the Patriots to win, which is why I think history will repeat itself, and they will win. A lot of it has to do with the strength of the respective schedules. However, both teams are extremely well coached and tied for the league lead in 6 victories of 17-plus points or more. The Seahawks defense is getting all the hype, but the Patriots defense is quietly just as good in my mind. Josh McDaniel will have some strategies to counter the Seahawks pass rush. I think there'll be some rollout passes. and design runs for Drake Maye. The Patriots will attempt to stop Seattle's running game and make Sam Darnold beat them. I think they will double cover Njigba and put Gonzalez on Cooper Kupp or Rashid Shaheed. That's an old Belichick strategy. I think they'll try something like that to try to counter the Seattle's passing game. Interestingly, I think Seattle will have the same strategy. They will try to make Drake Maye beat them and stop the running game. They'll try to May will have to beat them through the air. That's where I think the Patriots have the upper hand with McDaniel's scheme and May's ability to run. They'll be looking for the pass, and he'll pull it down and run for the first down or run for a big game. Both quarterbacks have to play a mistake-free football, I think, for their teams to win. The Seahawks rankings, they enter the game with a top-ranked defense for sure. Number one in defense adjusted value over average. Number one in extra points added, the EPA stat. Number one in limiting scoring. Their offense is strong with improved pass protection. They were 14th in the regular season and effective in rushing the ball in the playoffs. Their key advantage, though, was their elite defense. The Patriots rankings, they were third in defense adjusted value over average, second in pass, that same statistic, DVOA. They're known for an elite passing game led by Drake Maye. They rank fourth in EPA per drive, 11th in overall defense, with a better DVOA in the playoffs. Their key advantage is the elite passing offense, capable of beating zone coverages. And it hasn't really shown up yet in the playoffs because the defenses have been tough on Drake Maye, and he's had turnover issues. He didn't have them in the last game, but I think he was thinking about it too much, and he really didn't have a very good game. They're due for a good game, a good passing game. I think they'll have it on Sunday. The matchups, I think the Seahawks have a better offensive line in the playoffs, allowing fewer sacks, only 2 in 5 games, compared to the Patriots that's had 5 sacks per game. The Seahawks have the top-ranked defense faces a high-powered Patriots passing attack. I think that's a key matchup. And the Seahawks had a superior explosive play differential during the season, ranking first, while the Patriots ranked fourth. So I'm picking the Patriots. I'll give you my score after I hear your analysis.
Well, let's go single screen. You can see behind me. I have 2 of the most iconic Patriots Super Bowl moments in franchise history. Some would argue 2 of the biggest moments in just NFL history, especially in the Super Bowl. The Julian Edelman off Robert Alford's leg on one of the final drives the Patriots had in Super Bowl 51 to secure the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history. And then the play from 11 years ago. Malcolm Butler picking off Russell Wilson on the goal line where he could have handed it to Marshawn Lynch, and the Seahawks would probably have won back-to-back Super Bowls. The Legion of Boom would not have been just absolutely decimated and unable to recover like it was after the Patriots beat them. Funny, Patriots beat the Seahawks. What happened to the Legion of Boom? It never was the same. Patriots beat the Falcons. Falcons have never been the same. Could this happen again? Could the Patriots do the Seahawks once again and the Seahawks never are the same? I'm picking the Seahawks in this one. I have to. What I've seen recently from Drake Maye is definitely not good whatsoever. He has not played well. And you look at what the Broncos were doing before the snowstorm. The Patriots couldn't do anything. If you had Bo Nix, everybody thinks so. If Bo Nix was out there, Patriots would have lost. The Broncos versus the Seahawks, Super Bowl 60. Bo Nix in his second year could be hoisting a Lombardi, and Sean Payton's going for his second Super Bowl ring. But ultimately, no, this comes down to, first of all, the biggest player on defense for the Patriots. People are going to say it's Gonzo. In my opinion, it's not Gonzo. The number 1 player on defense for the Patriots will be Milton Williams, because the Seahawks are going to want to run the football with K9, who's been absolutely instrumental since Zach Charbonnet went down. In the 6 games without Milton Williams, the Patriots' rush defense allowed nearly 5 yards per carry, worst in the NFL. A 32.5% stuff rate, worst in the NFL by 10%. The 14 games with Milton Williams out there, they've only allowed 3.05 yards per carry, which is the best in the past 5 years. and a 49% stuff rate. Nearly 1 out of every 2 runs gets stuffed, which is 3rd best in the NFL. Shout out Ryan Heath on X. Here's where I think it's going to be interesting. The Patriots are going to have to do something that they tried to do against the Broncos, and it worked because it was a blizzard. And that's dink and dunk their way to victory. The Seattle defense is absolutely elite against deep threats. Number 1 versus all wide receiver targets while playing deep. Number 1 versus outside wide receivers. Number 1 deep shots to wide receivers. Kayshon Boutte, you think he's going to get a lot of receptions? No. Stephon Diggs, he could play slot. He could play out. It's going to be a dink and dunk game. So what can you do? You could bite more. By the way, the Seahawks love playing cover 6 defense. What's the number 1 coverage Drake Maye struggles against? Cover 6 defense. He is terrible against cover 6. And the Seahawks play at one of the highest rates in the NFL. I think realistically, the Seahawks are more efficient on early down situations. I think they are the better built team right now. The Patriots, while yes, they had a very easy schedule, nobody expected them to get to this point. I still think they're 1 year away from being that Patriots team at least us Patriots fans, and the rest of the NFL hated, but us Patriot fans knew and loved with Tom Brady out there. Nobody expected the Patriots to be this good this early. First year with Mike Vrabel as head coach, second year with Drake Maye. I think the Seahawks, what they're doing with Mike McDonald out there, with Sam Darnold playing at an extremely high level, because even me, I was like, okay, where is the Sam Darnold that everybody knows? When is he going to show up? It showed up once in a very bad spot against the Rams, and they nearly won. We have to remember, they only lost by 2, and Sam Darnold threw 4 interceptions. But the last, 6 games, Sam Darnold has not really turned the ball over. The Seahawks really haven't turned the ball over really that much. This defense has been playing out of its mind. I'm a little bit worried about Nicky Manwari, though. Supposedly, he sprained his ankle. It's a low ankle sprain in practice. So I don't love that. Give him a shot at Toradol, send him out on his way. But I think that there's too many pieces. Will Campbell has not been able to do well against the pass rush. He's been getting cooked every single playoff game so far. He has not done well. Morgan Moses, he's going to need to save the day. Michael Wenu, he's been by far the best Patriots offensive lineman. Garrett Bradbury's done a fine job, but then you have a young left guard. Drake Maye under pressure, he's done a very, very good job this season. He's one of the best quarterbacks under pressure. But I feel like he could get sacked 5 times. I mean, what we saw against the Denver Broncos early on is the Patriots could do absolutely nothing. But here's the big difference. A, no blizzard. B, it's not, I'm forgetting, who was the quarterback for the Broncos?
Next.
No, the backup.
Stidham.
No, Jared Stidham is not going to be out there. It's going to be Sam Darnold, who, albeit a couple of years ago, you would say, fair comp. Not anymore. Sam Darnold's been playing at an MVP level this season. So give me the Seahawks in this one.
I think that Josh McDaniel will have a scheme. I think they'll look at that cover 6, and they'll have something to counter that. I think there's going to be a lot of rollout pass options for Drake Maye, and I think he's going to run the ball more than he has at any time this year. And I think that's going to be the difference.
He's going to need to have to. That's the only way the Patriots win. The Patriots win if Drake Maye becomes Superman.
He can't turn the ball over either.
Correct, and that's going to be a key there. Will he be able to get hit without fumbling?
I don't think he has to have a huge passing game. He can run with the ball. That is something that's very hard to defend against him. He drops back. There's an open lane. He runs for a first down. He drops back. There's an open lane. He runs for 5 and goes out of bounds. I think that's something that you're going to see in this game. And I do think he'll have a couple of big shots. I think he'll have a couple of shots. He has Boutte. He has Diggs. Diggs is, a season playoff game competitor. He has Hunter Henry. It's his favorite target. Ramondre Stevenson. I think the Seahawks are going to do their best to stop the run and make Drake Maye beat him, because they look at him as, a second-year player. But I do think he has the edge over Darnold and an ability to run the ball. And that's something Darnold, we never see him run the ball. He just does not do it. And if the Patriots can get pressure on him with Milton Williams and Spillane and those guys, maybe a few designed blitzes, maybe Darnold has a clunker. That's what they got to hope for. A couple of turnovers from him. and none from Drake Maye, and a little bit different twist on the offense that the Seahawks might not be expecting.
Seahawks defense in the red zone. 5th in red zone touchdown rate. Goal-to-go touchdown rate, they're number 2. EPA per play in the red zone, number 2. Success rate per play in the red zone, number 6. Patriots defense in the red zone. 30th in red zone touchdown rate. Goal-to-go, they give up 95% goal-to-go touchdown rate, which is dead last in the NFL, obviously. EPA per play in the red zone.
They can't let them get into goal to goal. They can't let them get into that situation.
And success rate per play, the Patriots are 25th. 95, if you're in a goal-to-go situation, 5% chance you're not going to actually score.
I wouldn't let Shaheed return a kick. I would kick it out of the end zone. Let him start at the 35-yard line. I wouldn't let that guy run the ball back because he's dangerous. And Marcus Jones, maybe he has a big play on special teams in this game. It's possible.
Well, that's going to be interesting because they have 2 elite special teamers. Marcus Jones leads NFL history and was it punt return yards or whatever, yards per punt return, whatever the stat is. He's number 1 in the NFL history. Rashid Shaheed, we just saw him return a kickoff not too long ago against the 49ers. The first play of the game was a kick return touchdown.
Or a touchdown.
So they have 2 elite special teamers. I would take Myers over Borregales. I do not trust Behringer, the punter for the New England Patriots. I would trust K9 over Ramondre Stevenson. What we've seen so far in the playoffs, I would take Sam Darnold over Drake Maye. I would take the offensive line of the Seahawks over the Patriots. I would take the defensive line of the Patriots over the defensive line of the Seahawks. That's probably controversial. The secondary, while close, Seahawks take the lead in that one. Julian Love, Nick Emanwari, Reek Woolen, they have dudes all over the place. Where's the opening for Drake Maye? Besides him having to be Superman. Where is the opening the Patriots could be like, okay, no, there's a fracture in the team. Do I see one? Stopping the run. That's all they got.
Maybe screen passes to
you can't
Ramondre Stevenson.
Dunk all the way to victory.
I don't know.
It took a blizzard for that to work.
Ball control, right? Long, sustained drives.
You also, by the way, I found really interesting. Where was Travion Henderson, the AFC Championship game? It was all Ramondre.
Yeah.
I think it could be a similar thing now. Maybe. Ramondre Stevenson, he's been running hard.
Let's hope he doesn't fumble.
His history says he will.
I don't think so.
Key moment against the Bengals in 2022.
When he starts to get hit, he puts both hands on the ball like clutches.
Well, he
to
should.
His chest.
He absolutely should.
He hasn't fumbled in a long time. I'm praying he doesn't fumble.
You just jinxed it. You just jinxed it right there.
I'm praying he doesn't fumble.
Okay, let's give our score predictions. Do you want to go first or should I?
It's up to you. You want me to go first?
I'll go first. Okay. So the point spread's 4.5. Patriots plus 4.5. I got Seahawks 24, Patriots 20.
So the Seahawks don't cover the points.
Correct. The Patriots will cover the 4.5.
I have the Patriots winning 24-21.
There you go. Madden has 23-20, by the way, Seahawks. By the way, they ran it on the 1-yard line. They didn't pull a Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson. Yeah? They handed off to K9 and he scored for the game.
Maybe Malcolm Butler will make a reappearance for this game.
He's running a book, by the way, about Super Bowl 52 and why he was benched.
Which, really?
By the way, he said during the documentary, was it last year, year before? Still hasn't come out yet. It's about one game. How much backlog or backstory do you need for why you were benched in the biggest game of the year?
I know.
Still one of the big mysteries of Bill Belichick was why the hell bench a guy who played 99.8% of the snaps the entire season?
May have had an effect on losing that game,
It absolutely did.
Yeah.
It absolutely did.
Jay.
All right, that's it, though. Those are our Super Bowl picks. I got the Seattle Seahawks taking it home. You have the New England Patriots. It's going to be a great one. We'll cover that game on Tuesday as well as break down each individual side. We're going to get in-depth analysis of the game, so make sure you stay tuned for that one. But for this episode, the Harvey Hour, enjoy the NFL season, enjoyed the entire season, all 6 months of it, not from September to now, and we will absolutely enjoy the Super Bowl, and I hope you do too. But for this episode of the Harvey Hour, my name is Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. We have been your hosts of the Harvey Hour. Catch us Tuesday around 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Right here on YouTube.
Good night, Grandpa.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security.